So I want to thank everybody for being here today and taking the time. I know it's a long day, but it's an important subject. I'm the Undersecretary of the California Department of Food and Ag, and we have a team that works on this. Many of you might have worked with Dr. Amrit Gunasekara, who is our science advisor to the Secretariat, or Carolyn Cook, who is located in our Modesto office. They also are part of our climate team. So we are, let me get this. So I want to talk a little bit about agriculture in California, agriculture, climate change, the impacts, some of the things the Department of Food and Ag is doing, and the importance of the adaptation effort. So we have some maps to show you because we want to talk about how California agriculture is different than the rest of the country. It's much more complex. We have a lot more specialty crops. If you look at this area of the state where the red dot comes up, that's one of the most, I'm going to flip. Is this working? Hold on. That's one of the most productive agricultural areas in the world. We have a diversity of crops in these areas that you see in very few places in the world. As you can see, the California Fresno area, we have the different colors are different types of crops. If you look down the swath of the Central Valley and a little bit on the Central Coast, that indicates a variety of cropping patterns and where our crops are. So if you look at this, we have multiple crops in here, and to give you an idea, so the cotton is red. This is Fresno County. Almonds are blue. The pink is alfalfa. Winter wheat is brown. Corn is yellow. Grapes are purple. Pistachios are green. And that is only a handful of the different commodities. See, I'm not good at working these. See, if I'd known this, I wouldn't have had to tell you. Of the different commodities that we grow in California, we have over 400 different commodities. Most states do not have anywhere near this amount. That's because we're one of 5 different Mediterranean growing regions in the world, which allows us to produce a diversity of crops year-round. We have specialty crops, which are fruits and vegetables and nuts. We've got commodity crops, corn and wheat and cotton, as well as being the leader in the nation for animal agriculture. Our agriculture is a huge contributor economically to the state, $44.7 billion farm gate industry, 800,000 jobs attached to that, and that's farm gate. That doesn't include the restaurants, the truckers, the ports, and everything else that we deal with. We have 80,500 farms. They go from very small to extremely large. We help support food security both today and in the future. Because we're a unique growing region, it is critical that we continue to be able to grow the fruits and vegetables and nuts that we grow today. We have unique growing environments. So the Central Coast, we can grow leafy greens and vegetables year-round. Pretty much Central Valley is uniquely suited for tree crops, although we do have leafy greens and vegetables there also because we're lucky with our diversity. So this map shows you the possible impacts to agriculture based on a recently funded California Environmental Energy Commission report. The very high impacts you can see are some of our arid but very productive areas. Further north you go, where we have more water and cooler temperatures. Not surprising, we see fewer impacts to agriculture. This chart shows where the temperature increases on plants. As you can see that this is continually going up in California. That is what can cause our crops and our animal agriculture issues in the future. So heat effects on plants, increased temperature, lead to, for instance, reduced winter wheat. It can have other effects on other crops also. Since we have over 400 commodities, you're only going to get a few examples so that we can get through this in a timely manner. Optimum milk production requires a certain degrees. We are the leading dairy state in the nation, partly because we have a climate that is perfect for optimal milk production. We have had many record-breaking days in California over the last almost decade. It has led to declines in milk production when the heat is really high. We've seen effects on being able to grow crops, plant them, disc them under. Drought and flooding and water supplies. You know how that can affect crops. Without sufficient water, you can't grow the crops. It's a challenge we're facing both in agriculture and our urban areas. This is Shasta. The water is significantly lower in the dam, in the reservoir right now. We're also significantly concerned about the spread of invasive pests and weeds. And that's because as these effects hit agriculture, they're biodynamic and their ecosystem effects. It can affect forage, which can affect what insects feed off, what they don't feed off. The temperature changes can bring new weeds, kudzu, which is an invasive weed in the southeast that has been detrimental. There's concern it will come to California. Currently, it's here, but because we don't have the appropriate climate, it has not been able to spread like it has in certain areas. We also worry about invasive pests and disease. We're hospitable as it is, getting 6 new invasive pests per year. Not just people like California, our pests do. As temperatures change, those threats increase and our ability to deal with them. So we've done a couple efforts around this. We've had a California Ag Vision report, which climate change was one of the priorities to assure that all sector of agriculture in California can adapt to climate change in a meaningful way while keeping our food safe and our agriculture viable. It's one of 12 different strategies. We also put together a specialty crop climate change consortium. And that was a wide group of individuals, farmers, UC professors, CSU professors, climate experts that worked for nearly a year to develop a climate change adaptation strategy that we hope will come out in the next couple of weeks. And what that did is there was a lot of time spent on looking at research and then talking about what the threats are and developing recommendations to implement so we can address the challenges of climate change for agriculture. Again, we hope to have that out soon, so that will help the conversation and the feedback you can give us. There were experts came, they met over the course of the year, and we had a lot of scientific experts present and a lot of dialogues and working groups to come up with the final report. It's for agencies. Our strategies that we're working for are directed towards both agencies. They're directed towards stakeholders. They're directed towards ag commissioners and a wide variety of people because the threats to ag are so unique because it's both an outdoor resource base and yet it is a huge economic driver. And when you lay over the water and the invasive pests and other threats, it can have quite an impact on what happens to the farmers and ranchers in California and our ability to provide an abundant, safe, secure food source. And I will point out, so in the U.S., 6% of our salary goes to food. In other parts of the country, for instance, Nigeria, it's over 30% of their salaries. So our verdant climate allows us to grow foods that allow us to eat healthy and safely at less cost than in many other parts of the world, if not any other part. So I talked a little bit about invasive species. It's a huge concern to California. It can wipe out crops. We have Asian citrusillid, which vectors something called Wong Bing, which has decimated citrus in Florida. It's decimated it in Texas. We don't have HLB here. We have ACP right now. But what happens is sometimes these things can't be cured. You can wipe out crops entirely, or it can be inhibited from crops moving out of the county, which means you can't feed people. We have an invasive species council that is chaired by Secretary Ross of CDFA. The vice chair is Secretary Laird from the Resources Agency. There's a framework stopping the spread that talks about 5 different strategies to use in addressing the spread of invasive species, and we mention them here because they're very. I'll pick that up after. Some of the strategies are similar to what we're doing. That you need rapid response, like you do with climate change. We have to be better in interagency communication with the threats the pests feed us, and we need more research to fully understand. I don't know if I'm doing this. We need more research to fully understand the threats that can come from invasive pests due to climate change. One of the biggest threats we're seeing is that forage for pollinators is significantly affected, and temperature provides stress on our pollinators, which has huge effects on our farming and agriculture, much less just our urban environment. So our farmers and ranchers Am I doing this? I don't have a phone or anything on me, so. Okay. So our farmers and ranchers deal with the adaptability of weather on a regular basis. They're always looking, is it going to rain, is it not going to rain, do I need to water, do I not need to water, what's the temperature, do I plant now? Those are, the climate change variations are far outside of what they're used to seeing. So it's something that they are starting to look at, and they're trying to figure out ways to deal with. Three of the efforts I think I've talked about that we have is we have continued research through our fertilizer research and education program and our specialty crop block grant program. We're funding research on these issues. The Climate Change Consortium, we're hoping that the follow-up from that will lead to really good results and more in-depth analysis of what we need to do in California to adapt. And then we are doing a climate change adaptation plan update. We really encourage everybody to give us your feedback, and when our report comes out, please look at that and provide feedback as part of this so that we can hear from everybody what your thoughts are, and we can build that in so it's a strategy that works throughout the state. Dr. Jackson from the University of Davis, it's a quote. There's a lot of conversations about the causes of climate change, and whether or not folks agree on the causes, I think everybody agrees now that, I'm going to read the quote, there's a need for all agricultural communities to begin to develop adaptation plans that address the potential impact of changing climate, land use, and economic factors, and that they should be part of local planning activities if we want to maintain our robust farm and ranching in California. So thank you all for being here. I think we're going to take questions for a second, or do we go straight to the next person? Questions. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer? No questions?
Game show host. Come on, guys. Somebody's going to have a question.
Comment?
Roving mic.
Okay. Thank you.